Imagine buying a brand new $70,000 truck, your dream ride, powered by GM's legendary V8 engine, only for it to suddenly blow up without warning. No lights, no alerts, just a loud bang and a dead engine. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what thousands of GM owners are going through right now. The same engines that GM proudly called built to last are now at the center of a massive scandal involving angry customers, recalls, and lawsuits. And just as all this was unfolding, GM made headlines for an $888 million investment in its V8 program, the same type of engine now accused of major defects. Coincidence? Maybe. But to many, it looks like a calculated distraction. So today, let's break down the truth behind what people are calling GM's $888 million V8 engine scandal. What really went wrong, why owners are furious, and how this might turn into one of the biggest hits to GM's reputation in years. Let's start with that big number. In early 2025, GM proudly announced an $888 million investment into its Tonawanda propulsion plant in New York to build its next-generation small-block V8 engines. It was marketed as a move toward innovation, more jobs, better engines, and a bright future for GM's trucks and SUVs. But behind that shiny headline, a storm was already brewing. At the same time, GM was bragging about this investment. The company was quietly dealing with one of its largest recalls in years. Owners of Silverado, Sierra, Yukon, and Escalade models were flooding the internet with horror stories of their engines suddenly failing, sometimes with less than 10,000 miles on the odometer. So when GM started celebrating a $1 billion V8 investment while customers were stuck with blown engines, people couldn't help but ask, was this announcement really about the future, or was it a clever way to change the conversation? The controversy centers on GM's 6.2-liter L87 V8 engine, the pride of GM's powertrain lineup. It's used in several of the company's most popular and expensive vehicles, including the Chevrolet Silverado 1500, GMC Sierra 1500, Suburban, Yukon, and the Cadillac Escalade. For years, GM sold these engines as strong, efficient, and reliable. But behind the marketing, there was a serious problem. Some of these engines were built with defective internal parts, mainly the connecting rods and crankshaft. These are crucial components that handle the intense motion and pressure inside the engine. When they're even slightly flawed, the results can be catastrophic. Owners began reporting sudden engine seizures, loud knocking noises, and total breakdowns. Mechanics found that in many cases, the connecting rod had literally snapped, destroying the engine from the inside. Some drivers said it happened on the highway, others right after leaving the dealership. One owner even claimed their engine blew up after just 36 days. Eventually, the pressure became impossible to ignore. In April 2025, GM recalled nearly 600,000 trucks and SUVs with potential V8 engine defects. The recall covered 2021 to 2024 model years. Basically, the bulk of GM's best-selling lineup. The issue was so severe that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration launched its own investigation, expanding the number of vehicles under review to nearly 900,000. The government wanted to know whether these failures were isolated or if GM had been cutting corners in manufacturing. But what made owners furious wasn't just the defect, it was GM's so-called fix. Instead of replacing the engines outright, GM said dealers should inspect them. If no damage was found, they were told to simply change the oil, replace the filter, and install a new oil cap. For an engine that could explode without warning, that solution sounded ridiculous. GM claimed only about 3% of engines would need to be replaced. But for customers who had already experienced catastrophic failures, that reassurance didn't mean much. For thousands of truck owners, this wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a betrayal. These vehicles weren't budget models, they were expensive, premium trucks and SUVs that buyers expected to last for years. And when their engines failed, many owners found themselves stranded, waiting months for replacement parts or rental vehicles. Some even had to fight GM over warranty coverage, arguing that the company should replace their engines entirely. Others complained that even after repairs, their trucks lost resale value because buyers didn't trust the engines anymore. Online, the frustration was impossible to miss. Reddit and truck forums filled up with angry posts, people sharing videos of failed engines, repair bills, and stories of GM dealerships refusing proper repairs. Many owners said the recall fix was a joke and accused GM of downplaying the problem to save money. It didn't take long for the lawyers to get involved. By mid-2025, multiple class action lawsuits were filed against GM, claiming the company knew about the engine defects long before the recall, but continued selling the vehicles anyway. Some lawsuits accuse GM of using the recall as a public relations stunt, issuing a partial fix to quiet the backlash instead of admitting the engines were fundamentally flawed. Others demand full compensation for repair costs, lost vehicle value, and time spent without their trucks. The lawsuits argue that GM's remedy, an oil change and inspection, doesn't fix the underlying issue with the connecting rods and crankshaft tolerances. Essentially, it's like repainting a house when the foundation is cracked. If the courts find that GM was aware of these issues and failed to act sooner, the company could face massive financial penalties, not to mention a serious hit to its already fragile public image. GM insists it's doing the right thing. The company says it issued the recall voluntarily and that its inspection process is sufficient to identify which engines might actually fail. GM also claims the problem affects only a small fraction of vehicles, and that its newer 2025 models don't have the same defect thanks to improved manufacturing standards. In public statements, GM has said customer safety and satisfaction remain top priorities, but for many owners, those words feel empty. After spending tens of thousands of dollars on a truck that might self-destruct, a quick oil change doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Even some technicians have quietly questioned the company's approach, saying the recall instructions are too basic to catch deeper mechanical flaws. In short, GM's defense doesn't convince everyone, especially not the people stuck paying for rental cars or waiting months for new engines. The scariest part of this whole story isn't just the broken engines, it's the broken trust. GM's V8 engine has always been its pride, the heart of its trucks, the symbol of American engineering strength. But now that symbol is being questioned. Truck owners are some of the most loyal customers in the auto industry, and when they start losing faith, that's a big problem. Many of these people have owned GM vehicles for decades, and they're now openly saying they'll switch to Ford or Ram next time around. The timing couldn't be worse. GM is already under pressure as it transitions toward electric vehicles. Now it's being accused of mishandling one of its core products, the very thing that built its reputation in the first place. The lawsuits are still ongoing, and the recall process is far from over. But the damage to GM's image might already be done. No one forgets spending that kind of money on a truck only to have the engine fail weeks later. At the end of the day, this isn't just about a faulty part. It's about how companies handle mistakes and whether they put customers before profits. GM has a long road ahead to prove that it's learned that lesson. So what do you think? Is GM doing enough to make things right? Or is the $888 million just another PR move? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Because trust me, this story isn't over yet.